Ghost Hunt is a well-known map that many people have played on in Garry's mod. Why am I talking about a Garry's mod map when this video is about S&box? Well, I've been provided the opportunity to interview the map creator of the remake version of Ghost Hunt that was recently made for the game. So today we'll be talking about the process, new changes, and motivations as to how the map was created and why. To start off, the creator of this map goes by the name of ItsRifter. Rifter is a community developer on S&box and has made Castle Defenders one of the many games I've showcased and experienced on S&box when I was granted access to the game a couple of months back. It's very interesting to see that Rifter mentioned this map being made to me and also give me the chance to talk to him more about it for the interview. So let's get right into it. My first question for you is, why did you remake this map specifically? Like, what was your reasoning as to why you wanted to create this map compared to many other maps that are out there that are very well known on Garry's mod?
Well, for one, since S&box is eclipsing on what Garry's mod is, being on the source engine, and that S&box is on the source 2 engine, I did notice there's an overlap of maps that are not horror-based, and I remember playing this Ghost Hunt map from a while ago, and I decided to tackle on the idea of recreating this map in Source 2 to see how better it is to play a horror map in the Source 2 engine itself. So I went ahead and looked back on the original Garry's mod map, and then took notes from that map, made some adjustments to it as I was recreating it from some more life to it, like areas that didn't have much into it or it didn't make sense. Along the way, I did learn a few things with Hammer, often were limiting, but did give me insight and experience to using it. There was definitely some quirks to using the Source 2 Hammer at its stage in S&box. As to those who have Counter-Strike 2 at this time, who knows there's a bit of a difference. But the general process is the same. Still Source 2 and it's still the Hammer that we know in this version. It's still mesh-based and everything is a lot better than Source 1's Hammer.
It's actually very interesting though, since it's like the difference between the two and how the tools have improved with Hammer.
It has definitely improved. And as said in Timona's interview, the Source 1 used like block-based layouts of maps, whereas Source 2, as many will know, is all mesh-based. Like, you don't have to build blocks to design your layout of the map. And given that Source 2 doesn't have any leaks, like you can't just have a map that's open up to the void and it's considered a leak. You just can't have leaks in Source 2, but it does not mean you should go crazy with your maps or like the standards are more lax and practices are lesser. The maps should still be sealed up because without sealing the map, the visibility that's compiled, it'll take way longer to do that compiling, and the viz will be a nightmare to look at when you're looking into the void, because there'll be things that you shouldn't be seeing and it'll take up your frames. So basically it'll be a bad performance experience.
To make it like run a lot better and kind of be more enjoyable, so it's not a little bit too like sluggish or anything, right?
Yeah. Like, people who have been fast compiling the maps will notice the performance difference to a full compile when done right. Because in fast compiles, viz is not calculated during the compile, and lighting will not be baked in, I believe. But there will be a difference between those two and how you do them.
Could you tell us a bit more about the process that you had to go through for making this map, and what exactly did you improve or enhance with this map remake?
Yeah, the process of making the map for S&box. Obviously, I had to look back on the Gmod map to make sure I get what they had originally from the original creator, but then I took that idea and added some twists onto it, again back into the areas that had so little to them that it didn't quite make sense to the player. Like in the spawn area where you first start, it was just an empty room with nothing much to it. So in the spawn area, I added a few extra details, like how did the player get there in the first place, and this very long tunnel that's dark and mysterious. Some areas that definitely added some extras to. I definitely extended on the parts of the map originally just to give more playability to them, and it would help to better the player experience. Looking back on the original map, taking what was there and see if I can add a twist to it or extend upon a given area and then move on to the next. But keeping the image of the original map, since it's horror and it involves ghosts, players that will look onto this map and compare it back to Gmod may notice some differences, could be better for them or worse. It's up to them how they like make their opinion towards it. But during the process of making the map, there was definitely some things I couldn't do at the time. Like some areas have like timers to events, like some ghosts will appear. One area in particular is the skeleton that appears folding, the red light emitting. That I couldn't really do because the timer logic in the game itself, sandbox that we have, is not the best. Because when you start off the timer, it starts at I believe the delay interval, that starts first for some reason, and after that it's the normal interval, which is rather weird. And the amount of water entities we have, it's not very efficient to make such logic like for the maps. But there were some ways I could get around this, and some I managed to get through. Like, some may remember the room with the baby in it, and once you hit that baby, don't hit babies in real life. Yeah, and then the room would lock itself and the ceiling would stretch up. I feel like that was a callback to a one Disney map I used to play, and well, based on the ride itself, without the person saying, is this room actually stretching or your imagination? I know, I kind of figured what they went with.
For folks that would see this map, they have the chance to play it and they really enjoy it and they want to get into making maps. Do you have any sort of suggestions on where or how they could get started?
Well, aside from mentioning the tutorials that are available, especially the ones, it's best that since Hammer 2 is like a modeling software, it uses its meshes to build its design, like map layout. So you could learn how to do mesh topology, how to design the walls around the map, and so on. What principles you should follow, but just be careful, like, because modeling and world design are not like exact thing. Because yeah, with Source 2, it can be treated like a modeling software, but it's primarily for world design.
Yeah, it definitely does make a lot more sense.
Because compared to Source 1, you didn't have to worry about topology that much, but it needs to give a good player experience and help you, the mapper, compile maps well. Well, let's say in Source 2, a map that has terrible topology with its walls, the engine will triangulate these meshes. It'll probably make it easier if you clean it up a bit. There might be some that disagree, but having clean meshes and topology will help your map work better and help you design them better.
And my last question that I have for you is, do you see yourself making more horror-based maps within Sandbox, seeing that you remade Ghost Hunt in the game, or do you see yourself making other type of maps?
I see myself going both ways. I could make more maps that are horror, whether it's from an original map from Gmod or not, so basically recreation. Or I could make maps that are taking on a topic, a genre, and see how well I can go with that in Source 2.
So basically anything's like on the table.
Yeah, what I can do and what would be possible at the time. If it turns out not to be possible, I could work around it, or I could just change the topic entirely. It gives me experience of working in the hammer tools, and rather than all that go to waste if it turns out not well, it gives me some knowledge too, and it would help others who are doing the same.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because there is a good amount of people who do create all sorts of maps on Sandbox, and especially to see a lot more people, especially people like yourself and many others, to make these maps and possibly in the future also show others how to do it, will make it 1,000 times more easier for people to kind of integrate more into the tools and just trying to learn from people who have already had like maybe hundreds or thousands of hours just tinkering around and trying to create stuff if it's, you know, through trial or error.
Yeah, one thing I have seen commonly when people transition from Source 1 to Source 2 is that because of the knowledge they had from the original, they think they can start a bit bigger than usual, like they're not starting small. I would disagree with going with that approach, because going to something completely new, you should always go small. How big you want projects to go. Despite the knowledge and experience you've had previously, down the road will be different, and it will hit you like a road bump. Depending how big that road bump is, it could just halter progress altogether. So really you should just start small with anything, just to give you like insight in how things work and what you should be doing instead of just blindly going into it and not worrying anything.
Oh, actually, I do have the last question. I'm sorry. I just came up with this question right out of my head. Is there anywhere that people can find you specifically, if it's like I don't know, social media or YouTube or Discord, maybe that they could also ask you more questions if they like to personally?
Well, definitely. You can refer to my Twitter, whether it's in game development or not. And you could go to my YouTube channel. I hardly ever post videos on it, so they should be really focused on my Twitter, and you can ask questions there.
Well, I would have to say thank you again, Rifter, very, very much for giving me the opportunity to interview you and also talk more about the map. It looks really awesome. I actually want to go and try it out for myself. That's probably what I'm going to do after this lovely interview that you're probably listening to for everyone that's here. Very excited to try out because for me, myself, I do want to play some more horror maps. And even though I have played some of them in Garry's mod, I never really had the chance to like fully get into them. So this would probably be like the first horror map I've played properly within S&box, but I'm very excited, and I hope that a lot of other people that are also watching this video do have the chance to also play if you do have early access as of right now to the developer preview. So if you do, feel free to go and check it out. Also be able to ask Rifter a whole bunch of questions and hit up Rifter's line if it be on Twitter or, you know, YouTube. You never know.
Or you might see me on the S&box PC.
S&box, official S&box Discord voice chat, which is very, very, very open for a lot of people that want to ask questions there too. Thank you once more again. I'm really, really excited to try this out for myself. And thank you for being a part of this interview.
Yep, it's a pleasure to be interviewed. And yep, all the best for everyone out there.
So while this interview was very informative, definitely feel free to check out Ghost Hunt on S&box if you have the chance, and if you have any sort of questions for Rifter, all of Rifter's socials are going to be linked in the description of the video. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more awesome S&box related content, check out this video that's on screen talking more about S&box Plus, an upgrade to the vanilla S&box experience. Thanks for watching.